welcome to Legacy IS Academy. So in this video we will be discussing our polity NCERT. The way the new NCERTs have come out for the curriculum of 2026-27, your sixth NCERT is called as your social sciences, which has various subjects such as geography, history, economy, polity. We will in this video be only discussing about your polity NCERT class 6. It starts from chapter 9, 10, 11 and 12. Today we will be starting with ninth chapter of 6th standard NCERT. Now first and foremost, what exactly do you think is there in 6th NCERT of chapter 9? First, we'll do one thing. For each chapter, how we will go ahead is, we will make sure what exactly the chapter will be talking about, and then only we will enter into the topic. Okay, so that time you will know what this chapter is, why is it necessary for UPSC. Okay, so your 6th standard NCERT, let's say this chapter 9 speaks something about the importance of family structure, also about your types of families, nuclear family, joint family. It also speaks about roles and responsibilities that each have in a family, and also it speaks about the values of love, care and cooperation, which is very much needed in a daily life as individuals are independent on each other. Now, what are the key topics covered in 6th NCERT? If you see, it is first, like I said, the types of families, whether they are nuclear families, joint family, your joint families means where multiple generations are living together, nuclear families means it's restricted to parents and their children. Okay, and this chapter also explores about familial roles, such as your how families provide emotional support, how they try to nurture development, and they also act as a foundation for the individuals who are supposed to be growing up as responsible citizens for the nation tomorrow. And how, if you have to be a responsible citizen, that is correlated with you having a strong foundational support. Then this chapter also goes on to speak about your cooperation and values. It shows how your members come together, work together, share the tasks, and uphold traditions. Okay, and to make sure this is much more easily understood, they also have introduced stories. Okay, it's like a case studies, if you can understand that. Okay, then this chapter goes on to speak about something as community life, which means it tries to explain the role of local communities, how important it is for communities, and your community aspects of coming together, doing something for the betterment of society is visualized. Okay, and also there is a difference as to how it is in rural areas, how communities work in your urban areas. And lastly, they go on to discuss about dharma in family. That is, it discusses more about the duty and responsibilities of an individual that they have within their families and communities. Okay, so we have spoken about dharma and love, all these things. With this, okay, the ninth chapter gets concluded. Okay, so this is what we can expect from 6th standard NCERT chapter 9 of polity. Understanding? Now let's enter into the topic. Now, see, one thing about your 6th NCERT, that is, if you see, ninth chapter is, they start each, okay, chapter with particular quotes. Now see here, love and dharma are the flower and fruit of family life. So, like I spoke in the introduction, what and all can we expect? The same love and dharma is somewhere needed, like unity and integrity for an individual to be responsive towards his country. Okay, so now when they start about, okay, it starts the topic as to family. Okay, do you see this? Look at this. Family is the fundamental and most ancient unit of any society, or otherwise, what I would call it as family is the basic foundational unit in a society. See, first and foremost, if we are going to speak about something as society is group of individuals come and live together, right? When people live together, they may not have always similar ideas, they may not have similar shared interests also, but yet if you are going to call yourself as living in a, let's say this is India, so Indians are living together means not all Indians have same mentality, same ideology, we all have different perspectives. But if we have to live, come together and live in a society peacefully means there should be certain things where you have to adjust, or when I say adjust, you have to learn to live with people. That process first begins in family. Understanding? So, the first foundational or basic unit of a society is your family. Now, this chapter further goes on to discuss about the types of family. In your English language, there are two types of family. One is nuclear family, another is joint families. So, what is a joint family means? Joint family has several generations living together, such as your grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, nieces, nephews. Understanding? So, a lot of them tend to live together. Like you see this picture, this is representative of a joint family. Okay. And another idea apart from your joint family, if we are going to see, that is nuclear family. Now, if you see this image here, this showcases nuclear family. What is a nuclear family means? It is either a couple and their children in this case, or usually a parent and their children. Understanding? So, these scenarios are called as nuclear family. Okay. So, now here they want to speak about certain things called as, see, now your family has two types. I told you one is joint, one is nuclear family. English language, but there are only two types of family, and also usually the relationships also, if you have to, let's say, your mothers, brothers, sisters, like this, when it goes, you have different names for that. But usually in English language, it's just very much a longer elaboration. Whereas if you have to tell it in your regional language, it has words such as bow, mosi, nana, nani, atta, mama. So these kind of things are much more, relationships are getting detailed here than compared to your English language. Your regional language has better representation of these. Okay. So one more thing is, usually, your cousins, etc., are all just referred as brothers and sisters. But here, when you see, the impact in your regional language is much more than just your English language. So, that is one of the aspects where your regional aspects also, or your cultural elements also gets added in here. Okay, now let's see what are the roles and responsibilities of these family members, or does family actually have the concept of roles and responsibilities? See, first and foremost, I will tell you certain things. Now, when we tell family, largely it means you are related by blood. Yes, you're related by blood. You all have a close bond relationship. You know each other, etc. Now, in this family itself, each particular person, let's say you be a nuclear family or you be a joint family, you all have a specific set of chores or responsibilities you're supposed to do as a family. Yes, that is how a family as a unit will work together. Now let us compare the same thing with a nation and see. Now if I say something about a nation, nation is you are not necessarily related by blood, yes or no? But you have common shared stuff such as you belong to India, you are Indians, okay, you have a same national flag. These kind of similarities are there, but you are not necessarily related by blood. But yet the same unit of what role work in a family, that is each one has to have their fair share of responsibilities in order for the family to work, applies for your nation also. What is that? If a nation also has to work, move ahead, or if a nation as a system has to progress, then there also every single individual has to do his or her roles and responsibilities properly. So, what is this roles or responsibilities that a family has? Family members' relationships are based on love, care, cooperation, and interdependence. See, no one individual can do everything that they want. That is, individual cannot be 100% independent. They have to rely on family members, they have to rely on community members, they have to realize or rely on your other members of the society. How, for example, the clothes you wear has to be sewn by someone. For that, your cotton or your material has to be grown by someone, that has to be sold to you by someone. Yes, so all these things has to come together in order to make sure that you have to lead your life in a peaceful manner, right? So which means your interdependence is a huge factor whether it comes to your family or nation. Okay, so each family member, in this case basic unit, in the larger case nation. So cooperation becomes the key, wherein you try to tell that you work together for one unit to work, the unit be smallest unit of family or the largest unit of your country. Okay, so each member of a family has a particular role and responsibilities. Okay, now parents are responsible for raising their children, and at the same point of time, that doesn't mean the children have no responsibility. They also have responsibilities, such as they will take one or more responsibilities in home to help out other family members, such as, let's say, cleaning your vegetables, or tidying up the house, picking up your toys, putting it in its place, doing your homework. All those are your responsibilities also. So, whether you're a parent or a brother, sister, any of this, you all have to participate in the daily practices of the household or daily chores. So, through this, when we say the parents, the parents, children, this is in case of nuclear family. Now, when it is in case of grandparents, uncles, aunts, parents. In this scenario, the children are not just taught your daily chores, but important skills or generational practices are also passed on through this tradition. Meaning what? So, by you being a part of family, be it your family occupation, family skills, or with respect to your familial practices, all of this gets passed on to generation through this manner. Okay, where you observe your elders, then take part in smaller activities of that, understanding, and then eventually you end up learning that is an integral part of your familial way of life. Okay. Now, in the starting of 6th NCRT, we said love and dharma. Okay, what is the dharma exactly here mean by? Dharma here indicates doing one's duty. Okay, each particular person has a particular duty in the family or a responsibility. Here, duty as a responsibility. Okay, now when I'm again comparing it with your family and nation, as an individual, you also contribute to the growth of your country, well being of your family. So, when you look at both aspects, you see that Dharma has been there. Dharma in this case means duty of an individual has been deep rooted in our country from very ancient period of time. Okay, now look at this. Important principle of Indian culture is Dharma. Remember, I told you generations pass on the skills. So, from generations onwards, we have been passed on this value system. This further boosts morale. Okay, and also, in order to learn this value system or morale, it does not mean that only if you go to a school this is taught. No, this value system or morale is strongly imprinted to you in your first school, that is your family. Family becomes the first learning unit or first school. Okay, what kind of values are learnt in a family? Values such as ahimsa, dana means your giving, seva means service, and tyaga means sacrifice. So all these are taught to an individual from a very young age, which makes them use this values, this morale as they keep growing up, not just in their familiar life but in every aspect of their life. Okay, to furthermore highlight, they have also introduced few stories here. Okay, more like to summate whatever we have discussed up until now, they have brought these stories. Now we will just see a gist of what exactly these stories are. Okay, now look at the picture here. If you see this picture here, you yourself can know it is somewhere like a joint family setup. Yes, the joint family setup is what they are going to be talking about here. Look at this picture. Now, in this picture, they are introducing it in the backdrop of Kerala. In Kerala, they are telling this protagonist, or let's say the main lead actor story, is Shalini. Shalini is telling that her father, mother, her paternal uncle, that is her father's brother, his wife, and their daughter, along with side their grandma, live together. Okay. Now, due to some let's say the issues in the business, the paternal uncle is not getting any job or there is financial catch. His wife is a homemaker, whereas Shalini's parents both are employed. Now what happens? The grandma goes and tells the Shalini's father that they are not able to buy new clothes for the festival that is going to be upcoming. Now, in this scenario, the parents, when they go to buy clothes, instead of buying just for themselves, they end up buying for everyone. Because of that, what happens? Shalini, who was to get a silk lehenga, ended up getting just plain cotton lehengas. Now, here, Apart from the story perspective, let's see this. She wanted something, but because of wanting to do for the family members, she did not end up getting that but something else. How are we supposed to look at this means? This is where sometimes individuals, not just sometimes, most often individuals in a family put the needs of the family first before their own, or individual oftentimes put the larger good ahead against their own needs. Look at this. Now, when I tell individuals put the larger interest ahead of theirs, meaning larger interest of the family here we are talking about. So here Shalini's father thought that no, despite just me buying stuffs for my family, because they're all part of my family only, I should be also doing it for them. And your Shalini also as an individual, when she got that, she was just happy enough that everyone were able to get new clothes. Understanding? So this showcases what, that there has to be concept about roles and responsibilities. Understanding? The providing is for the elders means adjusting, adopting, trying to see the larger good is that of the children also. Here we are seeing. So this showcases that individuals in a family unit learn the concept of larger good. When you transform that same concept in your national level, we call it as national good, national interest. So if I put it in the nation level, is going to be called as or the larger good. You see, that is what our society mainly tries to operate on also. When we try to do maximum benefit for maximum number of people, here is where I will introduce the concept of, this is what leads us to something called as welfare society. Welfare society means, look at this. You're able to see this, no? Yes. National good, national interest. When you look at it, it will lead to something called as welfare society, which means what? You are trying to care for the welfare of the people, maximum number of people, vulnerable sections of the society. Okay. Now, in this case, Shalini's father, when he realized his brother was not able to do something, he stepped up and did something. Yes. Similar way, when you see it with respect to a nation, when there are certain sections of the society which is vulnerable, okay, for example, your BPL families, below poverty line families, Antyodaya families, in these scenarios, when they are not able to afford basic necessities of life, here I'm introducing the word. Look at this. Basic necessities of life means your education, health, housing, etc. When people are not able to provide for themselves these kind of basic necessities, your state or the country will try to provide this to them. Understanding? So this is what is it? You are trying to make sure the maximum or your public good or national good is put ahead. You are trying to create welfare for all of the members in the society. Understanding? So this, whatever we saw in the family system here of Shalini's story, can be actually visualized in the national level also. Understanding? So these kind of roles or responsibilities, or the value system or morale what we spoke about, has to be the first place or the first thing that you learn or in the learning concept. That is why we said family is the first basic unit of schooling or learning, where your value system are inculcated. Okay. Now, if you see in the entire chapter, I have been comparing with respect to your family and your nation, because what you learn here has impact for your nation. Understanding? Now we'll be discussing a second set of story that they are talking about. What is the story here? If you see, earlier the story was about your Kerala ka story. Now here that is the southern part of India, right? Now we will be discussing about your northeastern part of India ka one story. That is from your Meghalaya. Story of Tenzing. Tanzing tells that his father runs a local grocery store and his mother works in, let's say, a handicraft cooperative. Okay. Now, do you see the differences? Your Kerala pe there is different kind of occupations they are involved. Northeast pe there are different kind of occupations they are involved. Okay. There we're talking about a place in Kerala, different language, different festival. Here we're talking about different language, different festival. It's different in their practices, but at the end of the day, if you see, there is lot of diversity in our country. Diversity means differences. Differences doesn't mean they are bad. Differences are good when you learn to embrace it. So that is why we say unity in diversity. So diversity is not necessarily a wrong thing. So differences are not necessarily a wrong thing. Okay. It just means that you get to enjoy various values, ideals, okay, celebrations, cultures, which is what makes India a string of pearls. Okay. It is a melting pot of cultures. All right. Now, let's come back to the story. So, Tanzing tells that his father is looking after grocery store. They also have a small garden, vegetable garden, his father tends to. And when his father comes back from work, he tends to help his grandma with household chores. The grandmother usually tells the children a lot of stories, or this is where we speak about wisdom sharing. Understanding? Wisdom sharing in families. Okay. And grandfather usually gets himself involved with, let's say, teaching the kids their homework, dropping them to the school bus. And then also he is very much involved with the social work of the colony, where if any one person suffers in their colony, he goes on to help. There's also it's an instance where they have told a power failure in the area means the grandfather will go and register a complaint nearby office. If any neighbor's house gets destroyed in storm, he goes and collects money, okay, and gives it to the family for repairs. So, why do you think this particular families? Now, the grandpa is trying to do something for the others. He has to be okay that yes, my family is having everything. I should just be okay with that and think only on that. No, he goes a step ahead and tries to do things for others. What does this teach? Initially, when I told you, see, in our country, everyone have rights. Everyone has freedom. When you try to enjoy your life without making it a hindrance to others, and in fact, if you help make sure others also realize their freedom, or help in a manner that will contribute to the society. You will have a purpose or meaning in life, or that's what your family values are teaching. But if you see at a large nation perspective, when you do this contributions to the society, you are playing your role as a just individual. Okay, a just individual, or a responsible citizen. So, for you to be a responsible citizen, you are put into this kind of scenarios even without you knowing how. That is what you get in a family system, be it your nuclear families or joint families. Okay, so your roles, responsibilities, love, care, nurture, cooperation, followed by your dharma, that is, to do one's duty, is what is going to help you become an individual or a responsible citizen. So, yes, the chapter may be about your family, okay, but it has very wide implications for your society. Understanding? So, now we saw all the things about family. We also saw the stories of Shalini, Tenzing. Yes, we also saw about your different types of families, nuclear family, joint family. Let's explore a little bit more further. That is what we are going to call it as a community. See, so family means two types: joint family, nuclear family. Yes, two types of families. But in all these, the commonality is you are related to each other. Yes. Now let's say I'm going to put multiple such families, many families put together. Now you guys are not necessarily related, many families such as you, your neighbors, all of those, they are also a family of their own. But you may not be necessarily related to each other. Now these families or your neighbors, okay, put together are what we are going to call as community. Now we will see how community plays an important role in the development of an individual. Okay. So when we say community, what we can tell means a group of connected people can be called a community. Connected people, again, I am not here using the word related people. Okay, I'm not telling you are related by blood, you are related by relationship, not like that. You're just connected by some commonality. What that commonality is, eventually we will see. Okay, so when you're connected by certain things, what that is, we will see further, you're going to call them as community. So members of communities will come together. They all will form one unit for various things, such as celebrating festivals, okay, organizing feasts, weddings, events, etc. If you see in your village setup, okay, in a village setup, usually it will be during your agricultural seasons, such as land preparing, sowing season, harvesting. Okay, in your village setup or your rural areas, if you see, they tend to share common resources. Common resources such as water, grazing lands, forest produce. So, this is what makes them a community. Okay, their livelihoods are similar, so they will come and help out each other in these kind of scenarios. So, this feature still today remains in rural India. Okay, and this aspect, when we say rural India, irrespective of where you are, what you are, whichever, let's say Meghalaya ka rural area or your Tamil Nadu ka rural area, you all have one essence, right? Similarly is something for your tribal communities also. For them, their livelihood is centered around forests, yes, natural resources. So they also have similar way of something that connects them with each other. Understanding, not related by blood but connects them with each other. So they tend to live by, if you have to live. See, one small example I will take here. If you are going to call yourself a family itself, I told you have certain roles. In order to fulfill these roles, you have to follow certain rules that you will follow as a family. Yes. Now, when a smallest unit itself, okay, families can be called as a smaller unit compared to your community, because large number of families are there. Large number of families are there means they also are bound to live by certain rules. Now these rules need not have to be written, but it is more like understood terminologies. So even they have specific roles. What those roles are, we will see, which means they also have to follow certain set of rules. So comparatively, your community is a larger unit than your family. Okay, individuals within a community perform certain duties. Now, if they don't perform the duties, then the society will not be able to function as one or enter into chaos. Okay, here we have been given one particular instance as to how exactly our communities are working. Okay, one such example is your Madhya Pradesh region ka town of Jabua, where they usually suffer from acute water crisis. So what happened? They have a common tradition. Now I told you communities means they are related by something. Here that something is their community ka tradition. Okay, what is the tradition? That tradition is Halma, where they will come together and support the individuals or families in times of crisis. And now the crisis they are suffering is acute water crisis. What happened? The Bill community. Okay, here they are not speaking about any individuals but as a community as a whole. Now this Bill community, what it decided means we will plant thousands of trees. When we plant these thousands of trees, that will be helping in conserving rainwater. Also, let us, okay, dig too many trenches to conserve the rainwater once it comes. Now, the Bill community that is doing all this work, it is physical manual labor that they are doing. Usually, when you do that labor, you will be expecting some sort of payment. But here, when they are doing this, they are not doing it for money. Okay, your community work is not focused on monetary rewards. They are doing it because they feel that it is their responsibility. Okay, their responsibility towards their community. So because of that they are doing this. All right, so what happens is, because of this particular thing, in the Halma tradition, the objective what it is there means to serve the mother earth. Now in 2019, Shri Mahesh Sharma of the Shivaganga movement, he goes on to receive, or he is awarded Padma Shri for his work in the Bill communities. But if you see, these people are not working for money or awards. They are doing it simply because it is their duty towards their community. Understanding? When we previously saw the family case, okay, also of your Shalini's father was doing things not because of any awards or recognition, but it is their obligation or duty towards their family. Now, the same thing if we expand obligation or family towards duty, obligation or responsibility towards your community. In the larger section gets translated to obligation or duty towards your country. Yes, so these are the value system that are imparted and imbibed in the value system starting from your family. Okay. Now, if you see with respect to the Chennai floods also in 2015, where the roads had almost become rivers, people could not move around, their normal lives were disrupted. At that point of time, many NGOs, private institutions, your regional organizations, all of them came together, prepared large amount of foods, served it to people. Now, when you do this, they are not expecting for any monetary rewards. They are only doing it because it is their moral duty or obligation towards their fellow citizens who they may be connected or who they may not be connected. Most often times they are not related at all. But why is it? Because of the moral obligation to do something for their countrymen. Okay. So, when you have this moral obligation towards your countrymen, this is what we are calling, or this is what translates into something called as fraternity. Fraternity means common brotherhood. You are not sisters or brothers by blood, but you are connected by this moral obligation, which stems from your institutions such as family and community. Okay, now look at this picture. This picture will showcase your Halma tradition. Look at this. Do you see large number of diggings that has been happened in order to plant trees? Do you see here in this image here, third image? Do you see your large water trenches being dug in order to save water? Look at this. All these people ended up doing is not for any award, not for recognition, not for monetary gains. It is their moral obligation towards their community. From nation perspective, if it see, it will translate to brotherhood or fraternity. Okay. So this we saw with respect to a tribal area. Right. Now let's see one more example with regarding to one urban area. So here we are introduced with a story of Kamal Parmar, who this is about roughly 20 years ago, who works in an auto fabrication shop. So he sees that in that area there's a lot of underprivileged children on streets. Underprivileged children who are dropouts in school or who have not even entered schools. So he feels that it is important that these children get education. So what he does is after his work, which ends at 5:30, from 5:30 to 9:30 in the evening, every day he provides them free tuitions. After that, he also provides them free dinner. Okay. So initially children come in and then eventually what had happened is more than 150 children are attending these classes regularly. And they are very much deeply interested in the lessons also. Now, as word spread by, many teachers from the local school also see that yes, there's a thing like that. Let us go and help out these particular children. If you see this image here, do you see there is no proper classroom or there is no complete pin drop silence? Vehicles are passing by, there's a lot of noise, etc. The teachers who went there held that actually there is no such thing as a peace or what you can expect in a typical classroom. The vehicles keep passing, there's a lot of noises, yet the children were listening with a lot of attention to what the teachers are telling them. Understanding? Now, as and when this keeps spreading, many older students, let's say 8th standard, 9th standard children, all they decide, okay, they'll also come and volunteer to teach them. So when they came and observed this, they said what they learned initially, they went there is to teach them, but instead they learned from them a lot, is what they tell. Now, here, why do you think it was the need of this particular individual that he had to teach the children? It was not like he was obligated. Yes, he was morally obligated because he felt that education is something that will transform your lives, and also it is a basic necessity, that something as basic as education should not be taken away from you because of your vulnerable status in the society. So because of this, he took it as a responsibility among himself to provide this education. Now, if you see country as a large, this education again becomes a very basic necessity. This education has to be provided to all children in our country. Irrespective of whichever family background they are coming from, whichever region, religion, caste, gender, irrespective of all those, education is one such basic necessity that has the power to transform their lives. So you have to do that, means you have to, again, remember the word I used, welfare society, right? So you have to do that. You tend to come up with certain schemes, ideas, laws, acts, etc., to make sure the children of India are not deprived of this basic right. So education is a basic right. Understanding? So this showcases what kind of importance your education has, or what kind of value system get imparted from your people, family, community. Understanding? This is one version of community, means there are other versions of community also. If you see in the last 30 to 40 years, there has been growing amount of your urbanism, or your urban areas are increasing. Okay, urban areas ka one distinctive feature is they are all largely in service sector or manufacturing sector. Okay, now usually they will form into something called as resident welfare associations, or RWS. Because I told you in the starting when I spoke about community, they are not related but they are connected by something. Here resident welfare association means, if you see in rural areas, there might be individual houses is what you will witness largely, but if you see with urban areas, there will be particular buildings in which many houses will be there. So all of these people have to share the resources. What are the resources or services they will be having to share? For example, solid waste management, water, okay, electricity, these kind of things. So if you see the image here, all the members of this particular building will now create something called as resident welfare association, who will be looking at the interest of this section of people. Understanding? So they can create rules about waste management, cleanliness of common areas, taking care of pets, because it affects one, it affects all urban areas, right? So they make and participate in such rules and regulations. At the end of the day, if you see one thing common in your community, they are interdependent on each other. Okay, they have to rely on each other for their daily activities. Okay, if you see in your urban areas, people have to be dependent on your municipal workers to handle waste. Okay, so your electricians, plumbers, all of this they will be depending on. So if you see community now in present day, it's a very flexible concept. Flexible concept means usually what is associated as community means jati or subdivision is also called as a community. Now within a caste itself there will be further divisions. So those divisions, people belonging to a particular subsections or various sections of society are also called as community. Now group of people in a particular religion, region, common work or interest, okay, are usually also called as community. Example, your Mumbai ka Parsi community, Chennai ka Sikh community, अमेरिका का इंडियन कम्युनिटी, केरला का साइंटिफिक कम्युनिटी, स्कूल पे आर्ट क्लब, ओके, साइंस क्लब, लिटरेचर क्लब. So based on your common interests or something that you all have which is getting you connected creates a community. It doesn't always have to mean you have to be in a resident welfare association. Anything in any form of life. That is what we said right now. Community is a very flexible concept. Okay. So we also have different kind of clubs such as your sports community, NSS, National Service Scheme, or NCC, Science Club, Drama Club. All these also become a part of community.